Marijuana companies wait with fingers crossed for recent legislative action to go through the Senate, then President Biden's desk, and finally to be codified into law in hopes of easing the financial and operational burden for dispensaries, product developers, and more. What am I referencing? Well, the U.S. House of Representatives, as part of its National Defense Authorization Act, has approved an amendment for marijuana banking reform. In essence, the reform would protect banks from federal law if they service state legal marijuana businesses. And this change would mean new capital investment opportunities, retail partnerships, market demographics, and business models for the cannabinoid products market to explore. With new avenues for business, though, comes pressures on the marketing team to craft the right message and brand image to attract consumers, gain market share, and impress investors. So will more financial support impact how cannabis companies invest in their marketing campaigns? Well, for thoughts, we turn to Seth Warby, co-founder and managing partner at Cannabis Creative Group, one of the first digital marketing firms to specialize in cannabis products specifically. Here were his thoughts on the domino effects to come from potential banking reform.
With any business, whether it's cannabis or traditional, the more financial support you have, the more apt you are to spend money on marketing. At the end of the day, the old adage, you need to spend money to make money, never has been more true with digital advertising, as you can track that ROI. And we'll get furthermore into the ROI aspect later on in this conversation. But at the end of the day, financial support to any business, let alone cannabis, will lead to investments in both paid advertising, increased organic investments, creating more content, creating more media, areas that people can see the authenticity of the brands and start to bring them out through PR, billboards, and other channels. So to answer this question, yes, financial support will impact cannabis's companies' ability to invest in marketing campaigns greatly. And the more there is, the better.
Even with this potential banking reform, though, cannabis companies still struggle with their marketing due to a number of factors. A fractured, state-regulated market, a young and still burgeoning industry finding its footing, and a lack of quality consumer data. Seth Warby also gives some detailed insights on where cannabis companies are struggling to turn their marketing campaigns into sales conversions, why, and he offers some strategies on how to adapt.
Cannabis companies are struggling to turn their marketing campaigns into sales conversions because it's very hard to track. At the end of the day, a lot of dispensaries are using third-party softwares for their ordering, and it makes it very difficult to track their marketing efforts, whether it's a digital campaign using paid or organic, or whether it's a traditional campaign such as a billboard or a local publication. Unless you have incentivized deals or ways to track the incoming customer, most consumers aren't going to share with you where they first heard about you, how they first heard about you, and why they're in the door. So the biggest challenge cannabis companies are struggling with comparatively to traditional businesses is the tracking of the sales conversion in the funnel. What I can say from my experience is we're seeing a significant increase in conversions with locations that are doing traditional and digital advertising or marketing together. In the sense of, if you have a billboard or you're in a traditional publication locally, involved in the community, have local signage, and people see that on a regular basis, if you're following that up with a digital marketing campaign in any respect, whether it be paid or organic, you're more apt to see a much higher return, not to use exact figures, but anywhere much larger, multiples of X's above what you were receiving if you're just doing a traditional campaign like a billboard or just doing digital advertising. So my advice as a marketer is to do both digital and traditional and have them complement each other to remind the potential consumer that you exist and to bring them in your doors. Ultimately, the struggle of tracking a marketing campaign can somewhat be solved, again, with incentives, potential gifts at the door, depending on your state's regulations and sticking within your town guidelines and city guidelines as well. It will differ for every dispensary, but we've been very successful here working with clients to figure out ways to do this and to show the ROI, that their investment is turning into dollars. And you need to remember, the value of a dispensary customer goes well beyond their first visit. An average dispensary customer spends over $100 a visit and will continue to return if they like the quality And from there, we'll spend more on different products if they enjoy the experience. So it all comes down to quality, experience, and ultimately branding. Because when somebody walks in and you've converted that customer or a potential consumer into a customer, they then need to select off the shelf or out of your menu which product they want. And if they're a novice or haven't tried all the different options, they're going to select that based on the brand name, based on the packaging, and based on a slew of things. So it's important to put your best foot forward and to always keep your consumer and your target audience avatar at top of mind.
This is definitely not the last we're going to hear of this story, so make sure that you subscribe to MarketScale.com for more.